Hey, what's going on? It's Fight Season MMA, and today I want to talk about the recent fight announcement for Jake Paul in the boxing realm. Jake Paul was versing Mike Perry after Mike Tyson had that little ulcer that caused him to go to the hospital and got the fight postponed to November. But we got Jake Paul versus Mike Perry now on July 20th. Let's get right into the video. Okay, so recently there was a fight announcement that Jake Paul is now going to be taking on Mike Perry, and this is the fight we've all been wanting in the boxing realm. Now, I know Jake Paul was fighting Mike Tyson, but let's be honest. As someone who breaks down MMA, I know that Mike Tyson can catch Jake Paul, but there is so many questions with Mike Tyson that genuinely I was probably going to pick Jake Paul to beat him, which wasn't an uncommon thing across the world. But Mike Perry's an incredibly harder fight for Jake Paul, and I think it's gonna really show in this next boxing match. So Jake Paul is 9-1 in his boxing career, which is very interesting considering the competition that he's fought. The only person he has lost to is Tommy Fury, and Tommy Fury isn't the greatest boxer in the world. He's beat people like Anderson Silva, who was ancient, Tyron Woodley twice, who wasn't a boxer. He beat Ben Askren, who wasn't a boxer, and then he's beat Nate Robinson, not a boxer. He's beaten a bunch of people who weren't boxer. In this past year, he's been starting to transition into amateur boxers, which is better for the sport, but not as exciting for Jake Paul's legacy. But Mike Perry is someone who really is going to test Jake Paul in every single category. And Mike Perry is 5-0 in bare knuckle boxing, which is actually amazing because he is the face of bare knuckle boxing now, which is a sport that, one, I would never do, and to a crazy sport that only Mike Perry could be the face of. But Mike Perry was also a 14-8 MMA. That was his MMA record when he fought in the UFC. And this fight for Jake Paul is going to be very, very hard. Mike Perry is a crazy person. He beat the likes of Michael Venom Page, Eddie Alvarez in bare knuckle kickboxing. And really, Mike Perry's an absolute beast in the cage, octagon, ring. I don't know what you're gonna call it for bare knuckle fighting, but yeah, he's an absolute beast in that. And this is going to be a very dangerous fight for Jake Paul. I think Mike Perry's aggression going to Jake Paul is going to really throw him off. Mike Perry has a chin of absolute steel, and Jake Paul I don't think is going to be able to rock him. Jake Paul is a very good puncher, but Jake Paul, we've seen throughout his entire boxing career that his footwork isn't up to par with some of the more experienced fighters. Even with Anderson Silva, who isn't a boxer, had better footwork than Jake Paul, even though he was an MMA fighter. But Jake Paul is going to always have a chance just because of that power. No matter what you say, no matter who he goes against, he's always going to have a chance, which is the reality because of that power that Jake Paul possesses in that right hand. You look at his Tyron Woodley knockout. You look at his August knockout, I think was earlier this year or late last year. You look at his Ben Askren knockout. You look at his Nate Robinson knockout. And all of these knockouts were because of the sheer power that Jake Paul possesses in that right hand. And that's always going to be there. But Mike Perry is going to be able to have that ability to absorb a shot like that and throw back too. And now, if I'm going to give an early prediction, I got Mike Perry winning this thing. I just see that Mike Perry has been battle tested. I have seen that chin in wars from bare knuckle kickboxing versus Michael Venom Page, where Mike Perry nearly won, but then came out, and did get the job done in that final overtime period. And then you look at that Eddie Alvarez fight; he looked incredible in that fight. But Mike Perry, if he can take a shot in bare knuckle boxing, he can take a shot from Jake Paul, I think, in the boxing world. Now, it is a little bit different since those gloves have padding, but even though they do have padding, it's going to be a bigger force coming at Mike Perry. But Mike Perry I think is going to beat Jake Paul on July 20th. I just think he's going to be too much for Jake Paul, and his boxing experience is actually a lot better than most of these boxers that Jake Paul has been facing recently. Okay, thank you guys so much for watching. Please leave a like, comment, and subscribe. And please comment down below what you think about Jake Paul versus Mike Perry. I think that this is one of the most exciting fights that you could have put on in the boxing world. And for Jake Paul, this is a very hard test for him. And thank you guys so much for watching. Please subscribe for the latest MMA news and new MMA content coming up daily. And I will see you guys very soon.